right, so we got Asoba DeFi in here for our next AMA and last AMA before we do a little DJ dance breakdown. So thanks for everybody hanging with us. What's going on, my friend? How are you today?
Hey, how's it going, man? Happy Friday. Just getting
Oh,
over some
happy,
sickness in the house.
happy Friday. No, you're not allowed to get sick. Oh
That's the
my
joy of
lord,
having
yeah,
kids.
I actually just told my buddy that. He goes, man, I'm sick. I go, that's because children are walking diseases. Um, no, man. Well, I'm glad you're feeling a little up to it and better to join us today. And then, yeah, I know it's going around a little bit in the community as well. So, but yeah, man, appreciate you taking the time out of your day. We have a lot to talk about. You
Yeah.
have an incredible project. I want to just give you, I just want to shut up and let you go for a minute and let everybody know what it is, Asoba DeFi is, and get us started.
Okay, cool, man. Asoba DeFi is the DeFi branch of a new economy investment company that I have. Um, we focus in Southern Africa on the development of clean energy, specifically solar, but also batteries. We're solving a couple challenges. One of the biggest challenges that about 80% of projects that are potentially good clean energy projects never actually get built, and that's largely due to a lack of financing on the part of even the developers in the projects. And the other big problem is there's about a 20 gigawatt capacity shortage in the electricity grid across sub-Saharan Africa. So 20 gigawatts shortage means that very regularly you have power outage or brownouts across the country. So these two issues combine to basically get to a point where there's essential gridlock, almost literally, around people being able to get access to electricity on a reliable basis. And since most of the countries have a, you know, target of 50%, 70% of the population with regular electricity in the next 10 years, they have really aggressive growth schedules. They're really in a bind for how do they actually bring up that new capacity, especially in a way that is not just going to coal or other highly pollutive energy sources. And so that's where we come in. So we have expertise in developing solar across the United States, and we're applying that in the African context. My personal connection is that I'm from Zimbabwe, and that's one of the worst affected countries in terms of capacity shortage. So I'm directly impacted sort of from a personal family perspective from this problem. And so that's why I'm so passionate about solving it. But where blockchain comes in, which is really awesome, is that blockchain has about $1 trillion worth of liquidity, sort of across all the different chains, $1 trillion. And you think about how fast it is to move money from one place to another without having to deal with capital controls or banks, doing any kind of clearing houses and, telling you it takes 5 days to go. Like there's none of that. Like within a conversation, you can move $1 million from one place to another. So think about the impact that that might have on our ability to execute projects across the board. So our experiment is tokenizing the CO2 emissions that we're reducing with our clean energy projects and using those NFTs as essentially a store of that value and airdropping flow to collectors of our NFTs for every ton of CO2 that gets offset. So that's our project in a nutshell.
I the same response when I first learned about your project. Holy shit! It is so underrated. I can't even get over it. Tokenizing carbon offset emissions. That's that's mind blowing. So I guess my question is why?
So carbon offsets and carbon emissions are the easiest way to monetize clean energy transition. I mean, at the end of the day, you shift an economy or you transition economy from one source to another based on financial incentives. Like people like, if you have to drive your kids every day to pay your rent and pay your bills, like you're not thinking about like, oh, how clean is my energy source, right? You're thinking about what is the cheapest car that I can afford because you know, I can barely pay my damn bills, rent's too high, inflation's fucking me over. Like I don't care about that. So you have to create financial incentives for people to be motivated to do that. And so that's what carbon credits are. And it's such a lucrative space. You're seeing companies like Salesforce setting up their own carbon exchange, right? So that's like the easiest thing to not only monetize and reward, but it's also the easiest thing to bring on chain and into the blockchain space to actually have crypto related markets related to carbon offsets. So that's kind of why we're starting with that kind of tokenization is because that is the easiest place where, investors or collectors can actually get value from participating in that ecosystem. Because right now, it's really difficult to participate as like an equity investor because there's a lot of lack of clarity from the SEC in the United States about whether DeFi or DAOs or what have you are securities, and if such, like what kind of regulations that fall under. And so, because of that lack of clarity, it becomes really difficult because it'd be really easy to just say, like, hey, buy this NFT. This NFT is basically a stock in this company. When the company makes money, you make money back. Like, that'd be super easy. But until we get regulatory clarity from the SEC, we can't do it that way. We have to find other ways that we can do it. And carbon markets are one such way.
Yeah, and I think it's energy is what we're really talking about here, the transference and energy being. Would you? I guess this is a really I can't help but get philosophical with you, man. But like, do you see that like the cryptocurrency and the transfer of cryptocurrency is that energy that we are basically harnessing, which is change, like being able to transfer that like you said, $1 million here, just to be able to fund certain efforts, no matter outside of solar and all that stuff. I mean, is that
Yeah.
what you're supporting? You're supporting kind of that concept of like, look at how much easier it is with the energy exchange.
Yes. I mean, I think that more than anything else is the beauty of Bitcoin because Bitcoin is like a literal monetization of kilowatt hours that are generated to mine it, right? It's functionally an energy market. Um, so yeah, I think from a philosophical perspective, like I think that's what all currency is. It's essentially just like an energy market, right? Because what your cost is to run a business is essentially the energy that you have to expend to like turn a bunch of inanimate objects into like something coherent that other people want. So I think so, yes. I think the more that we like lean into that aspect and like really understand fundamentally that like our economy is effectively an energy economy, then I think it makes us more conscientious about what we're using that energy for because like it's inherently tied into like the value you perceive when you buy stuff. And that's never more clear than when you have energy crises like we have right now, where all of us are experiencing inflation. We have a Federal Reserve Bank that thinks, oh, as long as we crush retail people and make them unemployed, there's going to be not as much demand and then inflation will stop. Like that's as simple as their mindset is. It's like, let's try as hard as we can to make people poor. Oh, wait, unemployment is still super low. Okay, let's keep raising rates until like nobody can afford anything. But it's retarded. Like that's not how this shit works. That's like fundamentally ignoring the reality of like how much energy we consume as an economy and how much of it like we just like waste, right? We're not even consuming it and doing shit with it. Like a third of our food is just like thrown away. So we're just like how much energy we're wasting in our economy. Like that's like it's nothing more pure than that in terms of being aware of like what you're doing every time you're making a transaction for something.
Yeah, you couldn't be more bass backwards than running an energy sufficient economy and doing that inefficiently. So I would 100% agree, as everybody else would, at least in America and worldwide, to make a decent assumption, is
Yeah.
just not being efficient with our uses of energy. And so, what's really interesting to me is that you're manipulating that energy to, and correct me if I'm wrong. This is just kind of like something that I see you guys as is
Yeah.
for instance, I had a saying when I was really younger, when it was very naive, but it was still kind of holds true, is all charity is good charity. Because when
Mhm.
I looked into like when I was doing breast cancer events and stuff, who was starting to do them, as I had assumed they would, is like Chase Bank. Like, do I
Yeah.
think Chase Bank gives a shit about breast cancer? Absolutely not. I know for a fact they
Yeah.
don't. Maybe as individuals they do, but as a company, what they're looking at is how can we profit and use this as a marketing
Mhm.
profitability to donate. But at the end of the day, I said, look, it's still going toward early detection mammograms. It's still going in the right direction. That money
Yeah.
is helping, right? Rather
Yeah.
whatever their intention is. So I always said all good charity. So what I'm getting at is like, is this kind of like you manipulating energy with carbon offsets to pay people back to show them like, look, if you invest in the infrastructure, no matter even if it's looking for a profit, not only will you get that money back, but now you set up an infrastructure, which is the whole freaking goal, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think that that's like the right way to see that. Because like I said before, everybody operates on incentives. I'm being realistic about this. Like if you play this as a pure like out of the good of your heart, like help people in Africa do this, like yeah, you'll get some money. Um, but I think like what would be the best way that like you could get an entire like society to be bought in on like there's this place of the world that we've traditionally like exploited without even really giving a shit about it. Like most of the world's batteries come from cobalt that's mined in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And there's an incredible amount of child labor and coerced labor that goes into the extraction of that. So like all of us are using devices that are powered by slave labor or that rely on batteries that come from slave labor, like all of us, right? So what is a way that we can get everybody like who is in this part of the world that lives comfortably, that has access to like whatever they want and relatively is richer than everybody else in the world and consumes and produces more CO2 emissions than anybody else? Like what can we do to be like, hey, I am super bought in to helping make this change in this other part of the world that traditionally like not only do I not care about, but like my enjoyment of life comes at their direct expense. So I think there has to be some way of like what's in it for me. As much as we all want to see ourselves as like good people, we're all fundamentally driven by our personal self-interest and our personal universe, which is, if you're not African, like you don't really have a connection to Africa. And why should you? Like if you're not from there, you don't know anybody there. Um, but I think that this is a way, like, if you connect people with financial transactions, and you can say that, "Hey, like, you're putting this money and it's making an investment on, like, a material improvement into this person's life, and you get something back from it that's not just, like, a pat on the back, but it's, like, something real." Like, you actually get dollars back or you get flow back, and that's something that you can then use to spend and continue your consumption, and maybe you kick more back, like, that's the way development is ever going to happen is if the people that are doing the development are not guilted into it, are not told that they're bad people or that they're racist or they're terrible for not doing this, but because like there's actually something that they get back in return from it. So that's kind of like what I'm recognizing. Like the Chase Bank, like that's a perfect example. Like they will do good if they see profit in it. And I think that we just need to be realistic to that fact that like why shouldn't there be profit in doing something good? Like why shouldn't we look for it and see like where it is and like highlight it?
Yeah, absolutely. And that I think that that's such a great logic is like, yes, there should be profit. The problem is not profiting, right? The problem is what you do with those profits. And if you're
Yep.
siphoning those profits for your own personal gain, that's called corruption and not advancement. And
Mhm.
I think that that's kind of where our capitalistic society has gone into is
Yep.
less of that profit going back into advancement, but more of
Yes.
that profit being siphoned and again consuming energy without putting back into the infrastructure that harnesses that energy, which is society. So I mean that's deep
Yep.
shit, man. And I mean, I am a full-blown believer of this kind of mindset, and you're another
Yep.
project back to back to back to back projects that you see yourself as a revolutionary.
Um, nah, bro. I think if you saw me in person, you'd look at me as just like, hey, look at that boring jock who's like going for a run up that mountain. Like I I I I I don't have a pretense to like changing the world per se. Like there are things that I want to see changed, and there are things that I'm working towards change. But there what's the way to say that? It's not like I'm not aware of myself as I'm doing it, or like I'm not like looking at myself in the camera as I'm doing it, being like, like, what are you saying? Like, are you saying the right thing? You're doing the right thing. It's just more of like, these are the things that I'm working towards. I really hope other people join in. I think that there are really awesome benefits. I'm going to try as hard as I can to show people what those benefits are. But there's, I don't, there's not like I don't see myself as special for doing that, if that makes sense. I just think it's like, it's something that's interesting to me and I'm sharing it. A ton of other people have the exact same idea. So there's nothing special about like what I'm saying or what I'm doing. It's simply that um, I have like, here's how I think we can go about doing it. Um, and I hope that other people vibe and just like we all kind of chill together. Like what you're doing here, like ton of music. We're all interested in the same kind of thing. Like let's do this together. but there's no pretense about it. There's no like special role. There's no like pat on the back like, "Hey man, you're a hero for doing," like none of that stuff. It's just like let's just all move as like an ocean together, you know?
You're a humble MFer, but damn, it does sound like you're a revolutionary. No, I appreciate that mindset because genuinely, you're the tribe mentality. You're doing what you're good at, what you're passionate about, what you love. And I spoke to it earlier. It's a mindset I'm becoming more aware of. To be honest with you, is
Mhm.
understanding that you got to do. I this will be like the third time I've said it during the party, but like you got to enjoy what you're trying to protect. And at the
Yeah.
end of the day, it's like if you're we'll just use the term revolutionary. If you're a revolutionary, you're a fighter, you're an activist, or anything you are. If you become 100% that, you're forgetting to enjoy what you're protecting or what you're
Yeah.
fighting for. And
Yeah.
that is the beauty of freedom and the beauty of life and the beauty of being able to be weird and do whatever the fuck you want to do in life because that is what's so magical about this place is that and I just love what you're doing because when you said earlier about you might not know anybody from Kenya, or you might not know anybody from Zimbabwe, and I really as a person who moved to the Hawaiian Islands, I'm a colonist at heart, right? Like I come from that. And so when I came over here with that mindset, I'm not ashamed to admit it because that's what growth is like seeing what you were and bettering it. And so
Yeah.
when I came over here, being in such a place, and I try to tell people that all the time, that it's so hard to describe this, but being here showed me like that these people have such an incredible view on life and how they went about things is so much better than things that we go about them, and that we should all be teaming up with what we've learned in different ecosystems in the world and through oral and written and physical history,
Yeah.
this knowledge and wisdom that is acquired, it needs to replace the information that is out in the world right now. It's just so much information. We need to go back to this knowledge and wisdom and this connectivity that we have these days
Yeah.
allows this to happen. And so when you said that you don't know anybody, like that's the only way I know about the Hawaiian Islands is because I'm here.
Yeah.
And I got
Yeah.
to meet Kanakas and got to meet Hawaiians that tell me this story. And I went to Mauna Kea when they tried to build a telescope. Like I learning that culture and the significance of the knowledge that's within these ecosystems is what just it changed my life, man. So I
Yeah.
genuinely just want to say from person to person, I appreciate what you're doing because it is so invaluable and so needed in the world. So with that being said, all of our flowers aside, let's chat about how does someone go? Let's talk about Asoba. Like, how do we
Yeah.
get into it? How do we support? How do we earn?
Yeah. So we have our marketplace open. It's at app.asoba.finance. Connect your Blockto wallet. So right now we don't have Dapper wallet set up. We just have Blockto wallets, but that's going to be fixed soon. Connect your wallet, install the collection, and we have 4 different tiers of NFTs. So each tier is just different price tier, and they have different levels of rewards. But each tier is represented by one figure from African mythology and folklore. So they're all 4 of them are really cool, I think. I mean, this was like a really fun research project to actually develop this concept. So we have our first tier, which is Ngai. So he is a creator god from Kenya and northern Tanzania. Uh, so the societies there historically had been monotheistic, which is interesting. So he is like the monotheistic deity of those local religion. And after creating the world, as legend has it, he retired to a mountain, which is Mount Kenyatta, and he used to just chill and just like watch over the world from up top on his mountain. So that NFT, we have we are you can find the actual rewards and the frequency that the rewards are cashed in on the site when you click on the that particular NFT. The next one is Umhlama, and he is a Zulu hero or Zulu legendary hero who chased a porcupine into the underworld because the porcupine was messing with his garden and he got super pissed and was like trying to kill it. He chased it into the underworld, and he went so deep that he got to the village where all the people who have ever lived and died go to live. And he got super scared and ran back instead of staying. And that's kind of like the arc of his hero story is that he got humbled by this experience. He used to be this brave warrior, and then he kind of just like broke under that and ran back home. Um, so again, you can check out the rewards for that NFT. The third NFT is Huveyane. And Huvayani another creator god from the Zambezi Valley, so that's in the area of Zimbabwe and Zambia. And this particular god is kind of like a trickster god and super clever, and and played all sorts of tricks on village people, his family. And the funny part about him is that he eventually got tired of humans because we are all so kind of crazy about sex that he just like got a ladder, climbed into the sky, and pulled up the ladder and said peace. So another, really interesting character. Again, these like all funny, like interesting stories that you can dive into to kind of learn more about these cultures that you never really read about when you live in the United States or you live in Europe. And then lastly, our top tier is Mami Wata. So she's an enchantress from Congo and all across West Africa and even the West Indies. She's this enchantress character who tempts lost travelers, businessmen, men who are sort of away from home and wandering and trying to find their way back. And she tempts them with this offer that if you swear loyalty to me forever and never be with another woman again, I will make you rich beyond your wildest dreams. But if you betray me, I will take everything from you. So again, a really fascinating mythological character. But yeah, those are the four NFTs. You can head over to app.asoba.finance to learn more about their stories, to get involved, to check out the rewards that come from each one of those. Our Mami Wata NFTs provides you with a free ticket, flights paid for, accommodations paid for, to come to our annual conference, which is sort of not titled yet, but it's focused on solar refi, which is like the reimagined finance space in Zanzibar. And so again, that's an opportunity to actually come to Africa, to actually meet people who are both from the continent, but also just
I
involved in
hate
clean energy.
interrupting you, but did you just
Yep.
say repeat this, please? Because I just won't want it to get lost in the sauce. You get accommodations paid for. What was that? Can you go over that just one more time?
Oh yeah. So you get flight and accommodation paid for to Zanzibar,
And this is the
and
Mami Wata.
this is the Mami Wata. Yeah,
Oh my gosh. Sorry, go ahead. This is wild.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, the idea is, as I was saying before, just like convene a lot of people that are really interested in the refi space, along with people that have shown commitment, because Mami Wata is our most expensive tier. Um, to actually like be a part and like show up in person, meet to actually like break bread and actually talk about, hey, like what is the direction of this space? Like how can we actually create, a financial platform? So it's not just like my project or this other project, but a whole financial platform that people can go to for one place to get involved in this energy economy.
I'm blown away, man. I've been on this page the whole time just looking at the artwork. Can we talk about the artwork a little bit? Do you have a specific sorry, I bopped out of it. Do you have a specific artist?
Yeah. So we worked with a designer named Sora, who is actually with Onchain.ai. And I worked with Onchain.ai to actually build the platform. So shout out to them and shout out to her for the designs. But yeah, I mean, I worked with her. I did a lot of the groundwork research. Oh, there's another also Tsege, who also was an intern with Onchain.ai, was also part of that project. But yeah, I did a background research on a bunch of different mythological characters, kind of like did work of like ranking them, kind of figuring out like what their superpowers should be and like what the reward should be, and they pulled the design together based on all the conceptual stuff that I gave them. So I'm really glad to hear that it turned out well.
So I'm very interested actually. I mean, obviously the artwork is just really cool. The sounds, the movements, all super, super rad. So I want to make sure I'm understanding some of this correctly. So um let's say because obviously 60 flow being the entry point, fairly affordable for a lot of people. However, in this market, tough, right? Anything over $100 period right now is tough to sell.
Yep.
However, this percentage back, obviously NFA, not financial advice for the millionth and 4,000th time. Um, is it more of kind of like staking in a concept? Obviously, like it'd have to be if you could prove the logic over a long period of time, right? But that's the way
Mhm.
I'm. Am I crazy for kind of looking at it like that? If I'm spending 60 flow and I'm getting a percentage back, X amount of percentage, X amount of weeks, that's almost like staking without being able to return your investment until you technically get that back in staking, correct? Like, does that
Yeah.
make sense? Am I explaining that right?
Yeah. That's essentially it. Yeah.
Yeah. So this So this is some major alpha I'm gonna drop of like what I was just typing in the I brought party favors VIP chat, but I'm gonna open it up to the community of just like something that I'm gonna put on my plate is these higher price NFTs. It would almost make sense for you to build a little community behind them and to
Yeah,
say there's 10 of us that are going to go in, 60 flow each. And what we'll do is when it comes to those accommodations, we'll just raffle them or, we'll like randomize them, but we all stake into that accumulation of flow on the back end. I mean, that sounds more feasible, right? Is that something, has anyone mentioned that or like talked about that with you before? Are you guys doing that?
no, that's really interesting. So it's kind of like a fractional NFT purchase.
Correct. Yeah. And I mean, if you're getting like, again, even cuts and you could write it in. It was almost like you could build like a fractional part of the NFT. Like, so again,
Yeah,
I just got my mind thinking because like this is something that I see at 600 flow. And I'll be honest with you, when I see normal things, if I would see something at 600 flow, I'd be like, dude, I'm not even looking at it. I don't get that kind of flow. But as I'm
yeah,
looking at it, I can't stop looking at it. I can't stop seeing the direct value in it. So what that tells me is like, that makes sense to pull for. So yeah,
yeah.
I'm really, really interested in this. I think these four are incredible. Do you have plans to go further into these? Are you going to switch up the art? Are you doing different ones with the same kind of value? It seems kind of endless to me. If you just attach
Yeah.
that same utility.
Yeah, I mean, I think to your point about the price points, I think we'll likely in the near future also have like a mini drop with a lower price point as well, to just kind of test the waters to see like where the market is right now. But I think also to your point, I think I'm really interested in that fractional piece because I know that we have like our own fundraising targets, which is kind of how and why we priced them and like did that in a certain way. But I think that there's like a lot of promise in that kind of concept too. I would really love actually. That's a good way to think about this. I would really love to hear from people in the audience directly. If you, I think I have a link to my Discord in the party tent here. If you guys jump over to the Discord and like send a note about that, like maybe I should even create a channel about like price talk or something like that to really just kind of get more feedback from the community about that because like I'm trying to make a product for all the people here on the Flow blockchain and to bring people onto Flow. So it's really be really valuable to for people to tell me just like yeah like maybe a different price point would make more sense and maybe it's just you'll get higher volume with the lower price point.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way I'm looking at it, right? I mean, it's just logic is all it is. You're saying
Yeah,
that this is your fundraising. This is what you, for 600 flow, this is what we're going to give you. And this makes sense. This helps you help us and help you. So, like lower price points, lower percentages, longer stake. I mean, I do see a direct value in this concept. And I think it's so slept on, man. And I want to scream it from the rooftops because it genuinely is one of those projects that when you and I linked up through, my lesser enemy, Luke, he was really hype on you. And as much as people hate him, myself included, sometimes, he is, I hate to say this, an intellect. And he
yeah,
was really high on your project, as am I since that day. So I am definitely, with full disclosure to the community, going to think about a way that even our tight knit circles, maybe the party favors people, maybe owners of party favors, we can look to because it's in a sense, I just this is what I'm doing at party favors. The more people that
mhm,
buy, the more elevated the giveaways will get. I'm just reinvesting right into it, and it's just
yeah,
a little a fun that we can have on the side of the party. So maybe there's some added value I can do to people who buy the party favors or something. We can talk about a little mini DAO, right?
yeah,
So I
yeah,
just love what you're doing for the public. Now, a couple questions if you're willing to talk about it. I know
yeah,
you talked about the retreat and how you're planning that, and can you talk about like? I mean, I've done events, I've done large scale events, and they're a nightmare, but they're
yeah.
so well worth it. Like it's so fun to organize in real life activities. So, can you talk a little bit about how the planning's going for that and some things we can look forward to?
Yeah. So, Zanzibar is in the southern hemisphere, so the winters and summers are inverted from up here in the north. So we're targeting probably late October, early November of 2023 for that conference. We have a couple of hotels that we're already talking to. Some of them may be potential customers of ours by the time this rolls around, because hotels are one of the industries that we're focusing on heavily. Um, But yeah, I mean, the idea behind the conference is that, in addition to the folks that like really demonstrate financially that they're staked, like literally staked into the space, but I also want to bring in creators and other entrepreneurs in the space that's clean energy, not even necessarily just blockchain or crypto, but just like across the board. And I really want to make this like a meeting of people from different perspectives, like make it as multidisciplinary as possible. I mean, you think about these other like major ones that happen around the world, like Davos, the World Economic Forum, or like the UN, or any of these like global conferences, or like even Burning Man, as much as it's like a different space altogether, right? But you're bringing people from around the world in this like one location for a small amount of time, and the entire purpose is to just like exchange ideas, to sort of cross pollinate, and to like walk away with like a new outlook on like how to attack the next year and like what are the things to do, and like knowing that there are these five other people that have similar global goals to you that are doing the exact same thing in their own corner of the world. And so like that's kind of like the spark that I want to try to light up under people.
Yeah, well, it definitely lit up under me. I mean, like I said, I like to doubt. Like I love, like I said, enjoying what I'm protecting. This is why I'm into PFPs. This is why I love nostalgia and artwork, because at the end of the day, philosophically, I want to put the hand or the power in the hands of the artist.
Mhm.
And you have an art to your own work, and that is why the artistic minds are really going to be in control here soon. And it's thankful, or in thanks to these communities that we're building here, these live ideas we're coming up with on the spot,
Yeah.
like these back channel conversations we would have. This is as raw as it gets, and I'm super appreciative for it. So the next thing I want to talk to you about is something that you messaged me about the conference that's going on. Can you educate us a little bit about that, and we can just share that we're going to attempt to put something together for that?
Yes. So, as some of you may know, some of you might not know if you don't follow these things. There's a conference called COP27 that's happening in Egypt from November 7th through November 20th. COP is the Congress of the Parties, so that's the UN's like primary platform for discussing global policy around climate change and fighting climate change. So it happens every year. Um, there was an event in Paris. This was COP 21, which we came to like a global agreement about. We want to target a no more than 1.5 degree Celsius increase in global temperatures over the next century. Um, they agreed every 5 years to make changes. The fifth year was last year, where they acknowledged that holy shit, we're off the mark. We have to revise that to 2.4 degrees Celsius, which is way worse. But now we want to try to get back on track this year because this is the first year after that new 5 year plan. So we want to like really get on top of what our goals are. I mean, the United States finally got its act together and like created a national policy around clean energy transition. So we're starting to see like real movement now. So this is a moment where we have to actually like talk about, okay, we're back in the game, like let's move forward. The challenge though is that a lot of developing countries are concerned about this idea of like climate change impacting them more than rich countries who consume the most. So that's going to be the blocker. So anyway, the thing that I'm trying to do with COP is like similar to like this party that we're having here all day, is to have just like a day long Discord party where we bring some of the biggest names in climate crypto across multiple chains. We already have KlimaDAO. It's already in. They're one of the biggest names in carbon exchanges. We're getting a ton more other um, big name projects that are also going to be involved. So we want to like bring those projects in front of people. We also want to bring people who are blockchain experts and policy experts and have like a couple moderated panels about like the role of blockchain in this future economy, like energy markets. How does blockchain like navigate the policy environment? Like those are like really meaty, heavy topics, and then also have some fun stuff like some DJs, that are from all over the world. Hopefully, to be able to play some sets, have some fun, have some games, do some giveaways from the projects that present. Like just try to make it like a global party. And also remember, the World Cup of soccer is also happening at the same time. So like this, I feel like it's just like a good opportunity to have like a global party where we all again just like have ideas, like really jam out and like figure a way that we can work forward together.
Yeah, so you heard it here first, and I'm not going to mention this outside of this AMA, but we're going to work on that. I'm going to look to organize some type of party, some type of gathering, some type of virtual summit that we can have some speakers. We could talk about the future of clean energy and just educate ourselves, the public, and again share ideas and stuff like that. But it wouldn't be possible without your drive. So I genuinely appreciate because again, we need people to focus on their strengths and their passions and what they're good at, what they love, just like an NFT project, right? Like I always say this, I'm very open book. Like I love Dimension X, one of my favorite projects on the chain. I don't have the time currently in my life to research and play games. So you know what I did? I gifted a couple of my DMX and I sold a couple. Doesn't mean I don't love the project. I just got to focus my time where I have it, right? And then when we come together and we showcase all of the things we're focused on, that's the true enjoyment for me because I get to see what, again, random example in Dimension is, but what they're working on when I get to meet up with people who are passionate about it. And that's the same with you. Is that
Mm.
I'm so happy that you brought a lot of this to my attention so I can, pay it some attention so I can learn myself and spread it. And then go back to our strengths. And again, man, I appreciate it. So the next
Yep.
question I have is, as we continue to keep getting philosophical, that I absolutely love, is again, I wanted to just touch on the art. I know you talked about possibly going further into different art projects and stuff. Is that something you're looking for collaborations, or you have something incredible? I mean, I imagine the African artwork that you could just like kind of dive into would be endless when it comes to
Yes.
culture and focusing on culture with that NFTs and kind of hitting that also as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think the next drop we're gonna have, it's gonna be a different art concept. Um, because yeah, like you said, there's such a wealth of different things to do. I'm leaning into like I like the motion NFTs. I'm really drawn to that. It's not just like a static image, but there's like some level of movement. So I want to probably do something with like sculpture because I think sculpture is like a huge aspect of art, particularly like where I'm from in Zimbabwe. Because like Zimbabwe literally means stone house. Like historically, Zimbabweans were stone builders. Like they built this great, huge city, stone city, Great Zimbabwe. So it's like a huge aspect of the culture, even bigger than like mythological heroes. So I think stuff like that, I think, is probably the next spot for the artwork. But that being said, dude, if there are people that are interested and like super passionate about the project and want to reach out, like please do reach out. Like I'm available on Discord. I'm usually, even though I have my status as like invisible, I'm usually available. I usually like respond pretty quickly. Um, if I'm like in country and not, on site, uh, climbing around on rooftops. But yeah, I mean, if you guys are interested in collaborating from an art perspective, like please reach out. I would love to talk.
Incredible. Yeah, man, I'm so stoked to have you around again. I'm so stoked to work a little closer with you. The concept is really really smart. I think it's obviously noble and needed. At this point, it's not even noble and appreciative. It's damn much so needed. So I appreciate the hard work you're doing. I want to give you the last couple minutes to say your last call to action, how people can go support you, and just take it away.
Yeah, two things. So one is you can check out our marketplace. Everything's pre-minted, so you just buy the NFT that you like. It's app.asoba.finance, and right now it's Blockto wallets. You can get the four different tiers there. If it's a little pricey or you're not quite ready to buy yet, do come over to our Discord. I think I have the link to a Discord in my project tent here, and join the Discord. Jump into the conversations. Like let me know like your thoughts about pricing, the artwork, like your thoughts about the project. Like we have tons of channels. I want to hear from you guys about that because I want to make this something that like works for everybody and not just like it's not a vanity project. So love to hear from you. So either our marketplace if you want to grab some or our Discord. We're also giving away one NFT here to anybody that's part of the VIP group. All you have to do is join our Discord and invite 5 friends to join as well. Send me a picture of your proof, and then you'll be entered into a raffle. So it was awesome being on stage up here. Really appreciate you all listening in and hearing what I have to say.
Man, again, I can't say it enough. Thanks to what you do. I'm looking forward to diving more in again. Now we're getting to that point, man, where it's like you said, it's getting to be almost beyond repair. So we really gotta step up our efforts to invest in clean energy and research and understand and pivot, just like these projects have been doing in this winter. So again, appreciate your time. Go check out Asoba DeFi. You'll also hear from me very soon with some ideas on how to kind of portion off that large NFT, because I'm coming for that conference. I've never been to Africa, and it's on my list. So appreciate you, my friend. I'm gonna end the recording and do a little bit of an announcement.
All right.